channel. Welcome to another chapter. Happy Friday. Another chapter working on this guy right there, Chip Foose's 1968 Firebird. I'll roll my intro and we'll get going. All right. Well, we're back. We're back. I got my coffee. I'm ready to go. All right. So what am I doing? Well, we're gonna finish the interior. When I say finish, I mean finish the original bucket. Okay. We got this far last time. Okay. But we haven't put in the dash. So I've got the dash ready. Well, it's not quite ready. I'm going to show you guys something I've discovered recently that I'm going to do on this. I'll show you the process on it, and that is using UV glue. Okay, I have this. Let me dig it out here. This stuff here. Pick this stuff up on Amazon. UV light glue. Okay, it's a clear glue that doesn't cure until it's under UV light, and so that's the whole point of it. I'll show you what I've done and what I still need to do on it. I'll switch the camera here as long as my lights stop flickering. I don't know why my lights are flickering on me. Let me switch to the overhead cam and I'll show you here. So we have our gauges here that we've done. Okay, they're decals that I put in there for the instruments here and here. Okay. A decal that goes across here. I think this is basically just a heater vent, and then there's a little decal for the radio, and I've painted it up, painted our dials and that, and the little chrome parts on the heater vents there on each side. And then what I did is I took the UV glue and I put it in right there on the speedometer. If I can get this on the camera and show you guys, and I actually tip it, you'll see it looks a little glossy compared to the decal, and if I can get it on an angle, maybe you can see, there you go, see that glossiness on the left one where it isn't on the right. So what I did was I took the UV glue, I put a little dab in there, and then I held the UV light over it. I got, like I said, I got this on Amazon. There's many different brands and stuff like that. This one had some decent reviews, and so this is what I chose. Okay, so this is it here. Here's our light. Looks like nothing special, right? Just a little light, and it has this nice little stand, and then this little tip comes off, and we can get at our glue. So just give me a sec to get put my proper glasses on. And just so I can get in there. So all I did was just kind of squeeze out enough to get a little bit of a layer on here, just like that. It is thick, it's not a thin glue, that's for sure, and that's probably why guys love this stuff so much, for doing things like this. Put my cap back on. Okay, put my little stand. This acts as a stand so you can stand it up. Yay. Okay, and then I just hold this over like this, and I'll just leave it. Okay, get the angle right so you can see. I'm just holding it like that for about 20 seconds or so, and that'll cure this glue. Let's give that a shot, see how it looks. Almost. All right, so that, my little test touch there felt like it's almost hard, but it's hard now. That's cured. Done. So now it looks like I actually got a lens in there, right? Let's get this up close for you again. Now it actually has a shiny, nice gloss to it. Just like that. Get this centered for you. There we go. Nice glossiness to it. Okay, there, that's done. And this was pretty cheap. This was only something like, you know what? I've had this for a few months now. I don't even remember how much it cost me anymore. So yeah, this is actually, I've been waiting to use this actually on an aircraft, like maybe an old World War II plane. So it comes with this tube, it comes with an extra one also. So just remember, look for this on Amazon if you're interested, because this does work, and yeah, I'm happy with it. Not bad. Okay, so with that part done, we're going to put in our dash. We're going to do our steering wheel. So I got this painted up. Remember our great big chrome tachometer and everything that was on there? Well, got that painted black, so that's ready to go. I was thinking maybe I should put a wire or something. Realistically, there'd be wire coming off the back of this tack, since it is an added on thing to this car. I could very easily, since the steering wheel is going to go like this, I could very easily just run a little wire down underneath the dash and just hide it. I don't think it's really that necessary, but yeah. So I'll just do it like that. I'll just pretend, yeah, whoever put that tack in, they run the wires inside. And I just realized I got to touch up the paint on the top of my dash here, and I have not done that yet. I cleaned off that nub that was along here. It was a little bit rough, and I never painted it, so I got to do that. Before we continue, I'm going to paint that. So let's just shake this paint up a little bit here. And grab a brush. And just touch up the top, that edge of the dash. Try and put it on thick enough that my brush strokes won't be seen. And there we go. So that's touched up now. Okay. Lid back on. Just if you're wondering, this is the Mr. Surfacer 1500 Black. Okay. It sprays really nice. It brushes really good. I actually, you know, since using this, I've actually come to appreciate the Mr. Surfacer Black as far as just painting flat black. If you want something flat black, it sprays really nice, a nice very flat black spray. They did a good job, and I'm actually liking it better than what I would normally use for flat black, is Tamiya's XF1. This stuff, I don't know what it is with Tamiya's flat black. Sometimes when I'm painting it, it'll actually catch on itself and pull itself off of the plastic. I don't know why I just shook my glue bottle. It'll actually pull it off, and when I'm trying to paint it on lightly, and that bugs me. I don't like that. Mr. Surfacer doesn't do that, so I've come to appreciate that. There we go, we got our steering wheel in. We'll give that a minute. Also going to give this a minute to dry. So we'll just set that down, and we'll wait a minute. Meanwhile, that's basically going to be it for that. We're going to put our dash in. So let's take a look at our firewall and our master cylinder for the brakes. Okay, so we're going to get 34G and 35A. Let's find those. What have we got here? Nothing on there. This ain't it. I just found the distributor to the engine I was looking for a couple days ago. Anyway, that's unrelated. Here we go. Okay, here's our firewall. No, that's not it. That's not the firewall at all. Where's my firewall? Here it is. But this is where I get my brake booster from. So we'll get a brake booster. Okay. I am going to be needing these parts very soon. Tonight actually, so I'm going to get these off of the sprue right now, because I am going to need them later. Okay. So, let's clean up our nubs on our little master cylinder here. I need to paint the top of this. 99% of the time, the lids on master cylinders are kind of a brass color, copper. I'm going to do this one in chrome, along with the little wire that is they have going across here. I'm going to do the whole top of this chrome. This little guy, he goes into this hole here in the front, just like this. Okay, I'm just going to make sure my nubs are clean on this first. It is interesting that they have me putting this onto the interior bucket like this. Somehow, I guess it sits like this. I guess it's just going to sit. Oh yeah, okay, so these little marks here, this guy here, and this, that's what we're going to be lining up on there and on the sides. It's going to fit in like that. Fits in tight, just like that, and that's how it's going to sit. Okay, just like that. Okay. Let's actually just glue that on now. It's not going to interfere with the dash, but while I'm waiting for the dash to dry, why not, right? Why not? So, glue there, along here. Okay, there we go. Just like that. Nice and flat against there. Okay, just like that. Doesn't really touch the bottom here, and you got it solid on the front face. This isn't touching. There's like a millimeter, half a millimeter of space in between there, but that doesn't matter. And I just realized I've got these little tabs from the seats I might have to touch up when I put this down. No, it looks like we're not going to see them, so that's good. But I can see where I didn't get all the way through. I'm going to have to respray the front here. I'm going to have to add some black to that to make sure this is all covered, because that's going to be seen underneath there. See the white there showing through, and that's not going to look right, so I'll have to fix that later. Okay, so that's on. I already did test fit our master cylinder here, or this, I call it master cylinder, you can call it brake cylinder, whatever. It's the cylinder that your brakes use. Sits in. Oh hey, that's going to be your home. You need to go in your home. There we go. This also can use a little touch up on the paint on the bottom there that I didn't quite get when it was on the sprue. Okay, we're going to let that sit. We're not going to touch that for a few minutes. Okay, this should be, yeah, it's dry to the touch. There we go. Okay, so this is just going to slot in. You got your slots right there and there on each side. They slide into those holes. You can use as little or as much glue as you want. because they're big gaps for that to slide in there. Just like that. I'm not going to slather a whole bunch of glue on there. I'm just going to put it in where it's supposed to be and call that done. Just like that. I'm going to tuck it up. There's a little bit of play in here. I'm going to push them up against the back of this slot like that. Okay. Kind of like that. Right. I'll show you there is some play in there. I can move this back and forth like this. See, there's some play there. I'm choosing to have it forward, or I guess back this way. That's what I'm going to do. Okay. So I'm going to grab my thin and just let it fall where it may, right there and right there. Make sure that's pushed back and touching, just like that. Just like that. And that's the new home. So there's our interior bucket, basically done. Okay. That's this right here, that's done. If you flip the page, we're going to get into the body and putting the glass in. We're not doing that today. Okay. We're going to go back. Now that this is been all glued together and is going to let it sit and be ready for our next step, put it over to the side and we're going to go back. Okay. Go back to where we were before. Okay. So kind of jumped around a little bit. So remember we put in our rear end. Okay. Got that all put in and then in the frame. Okay. That's all in there now. Remember I had to clamp that down a little bit to get that to hold. That's all in its home now and it's all happy and staying where it's supposed to be. Okay. So we flip our page and we go to our front suspension. Okay. So I have it right here. Now one thing I did do on this, where the wheels go in, the wheels get mounted onto this piece here. And what I did was I made that hole a little bit oval, not this white part, but the hole there. That was just a round hole, and I wanted to be able to drop the front end just a hair on the front end of this car. I wanted it to be a little bit lower to tuck those tires up in the wheel wells a little bit. So I basically just drilled that hole out and made it an oval so the tire, so that pin can actually sit up, and so the front end can sit lower. And I did it on both sides. Okay, and obviously I haven't touched up my nub mark there or on the back here. I'll do that later. This is going to sit, these two pins, okay, you can see them if I get them in the right angle here. This pin here and here, they're going to go into these pegs right there and there. Okay, these two pegs right here, that one here, and this one here. That's where it's going to go. Okay, so that's going to sit once I get them lined up. Like that. It's going to sit just like that. Push it down till everything touches. Everything touches at least on here and here, but not this centerpiece. This centerpiece is not touching anything right now. So we'll put some glue on that. Glue on here and here. And just for added measure, I'll put glue on the bottom of these. Line them up. Why did you line up before but now you don't? There you go. Okay. Alright, so we're glued in just like that. So the next step is our upper A-arms, which we already had. They're going to go in through, they're going to go in here and stick out, which now I realize I might have an issue because I had cut some of this off right here in order to fit the engine, and now I've got to put A-arms through there. Which A-arm is which here? If I flip this over, this. I need this arm for this side, and it's supposed to go through these two pegs, which I've got some flashing on this one. And I might as well clean up my nub here. Okay, clean up this nub. I have a feeling this is not going to work out very well. The reason I'm saying that is because in order to get my engine to sit down low enough, I had to trim off a big chunk right here. And if this A-arm is supposed to go right there, let's get this through far enough that it's sitting. So it's supposed to sit through like this and sit like that. Okay, I've got a bad feeling that with the A-arm there, my engine is not going to be sitting in its home anymore. So let me just put this other one in. This one sits just like that. Okay, so there's the A-arms in. That's how it's supposed to go. A-arms in, sitting like that. Okay, and that's how they look like on the front. Okay, so let me grab the engine and have a look. So I don't think the engine's going to sit. No. Basically, I got to trim off this part of the A-arm. So let's pull this one out. I got two choices. Either trim the A-arm so it looks like it's actually there at least, or just not put it in at all. I'd like to try and actually, give that. I'm going to trim off this arm and this part right here. Just do this, cut that off like that. It's unfortunate, but sometimes you do what you gotta do, right? Can I get that through? No, it has to go this way. That's where it goes. Like that. Doesn't seem to be sitting right down all the way. Okay. I'll do the same on this one since I already know what I gotta do. So let's trim that. Okay, put this guy in. This one seems to go nicely into his holes. This guy doesn't want to go in his holes. Might be due to that flashing that's from there. Okay. There we go. Okay, let's do another test fit. So it goes like that. And we fit. Okay. So the A-arms can go in. They just don't look quite right. But that's okay, they're there. That's the main thing. The main thing is that they're there. Okay? So, they're in, and that's what counts. So let's grab our glue. We'll just leave them exactly where they are. Glue them in there. Just like that. All right. Just like that. Okay. Obviously, I'm going to have to touch up in these little white spots, but that's all right. We'll give that a minute to dry. Okay. Actually, I'll touch it up now, because the next step is to put in the drive shaft and then the engine. And once the engine's in, I'm not really going to have an opportunity to get at these A-arms to touch up these spots ever again. So let's just do that. All right. While I'm at it, just in case these are visible with the wheels on, I don't know if they're going to be or not, but just in case, just touch that up, and that one too. All right, there we go. So I mentioned this before, how I did the Mr. Surfacer black on everything, okay? But then on the suspension pieces, I went over them with some semi-gloss clear, just to have them kind of pop out a little bit so that it's not all the same. You can see there's a bit of a sheen to it compared to the rest of the chassis, right? And I wanted to do that just so that the whole thing isn't just straight, flat black, plain, you know, kind of thing. You know, it's a lot of black on this car. I was trying to decide which color to actually paint the body, and after painting the body with the Mr. Surfacer, I thought that actually looks really cool, just flat black like that. And yeah, so I've decided I'm just going to leave this car flat black. I'll put the decal on the rear quarter, just like in the picture here. I'll put the decal on there, but I'll leave the car flat black. I won't do it gloss. And I think that'll look pretty mean. We'll have ourselves a mean looking 68 Firebird. Okay. So the instructions would have us put in our drive shaft and then put the engine in. I have yet to test fit this with the drive shaft to see just how far back the engine goes. I have drilled out the back of the transmission to accommodate the drive shaft in there, but I have not measured any kind of measuring at all. So this goes in like that. Okay, we'll let that sit there like that. That's how our drive shaft goes. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue it into the diff, just so that it won't be tempted to fall out on me at every moment. Okay, so we'll let it sit there like that. That's not necessarily going to be its permanent home, but we will see. Okay, so let's just do this. Yeah, see, our drive shaft, well, you know what? Our drive shaft is fine. I can get it in there just like that. And the drive shaft is in. With the engine in its home. That is perfect. I cannot ask for a much better fit than that at all. It's absolutely perfect. Oop. So I don't want to accidentally pull the drive shaft out, so I'll just hold it here while I get the engine out. I am going to have to use CA glue on the engine in order to glue it down, because we're talking about resin going against the plastic. It's just not going to work. Regular glue will not do. Regular glue will not do. Yeah, so I'm going to have to get some CA glue out. Let's get my patented little cup. Let's see, is this plugged up? Yes, it is. Let's unplug this. There we go. Okay, get my little CA applicator, patent pending. We'll fill up our little hole here where that pin goes in. There we go. And where it hits at the front here, we'll put some glue down here. The main spot where the engine touches, I think it does touch here on the motor mount a little bit too. I would like it if I could get a more solid mount on the sides and actually have it using the actual engine mount locations, but it doesn't, but that's okay. Alright, so I'm going to put a little glue in the tip of the transmission too. Just, I don't know why. I can't even say why. Let's flip this back over. I'm going to do this upside down again. Let's get that drive shaft in there and get it in the pin. Here we go. Press down. All right. She's in her new home, guys. She's in her new home. That's going to have to sit for a little while to cure properly. My pin is not in this hole. There we go. Now we're in. And this is where she's going to sit permanently. That's her permanent home. Now I can't put that down because the oil pan hits. So let's grab some paint. And we'll do this. Okay. And now I can glue that transmission to the drive shaft from the top here a little better, where it's not going to be seen even if I put a big glob of glue. Glob of glue? Where's the glob of glue? There we go. Now, accelerant. There we go. It's kind of hard to get in there front with the accelerant. That's okay. I don't really need to. We'll let that sit. Okay, so there we go. There is our engine in his final home. Okay, just like that. Just like that, guys. The engine is installed. That deserves a sip of coffee. All right. So with that set up and that sitting and drying, our engine is in. We're going to focus on our front wall. I don't know what wall they call this. You know what? Let's see. Remember we went through? This is number 8. Let's look at the front and see what they call that. Remember we have our 2-page list of all the pieces. Number 8 is the radiator wall. All right. So it's the radiator wall. That's what that is. Okay. Radiator wall. That's the one I grabbed earlier. I'm going to put this off to the side and let that cure. Okay, so I'm going to grab number 8, our radiator wall. There's a few parts that get mounted to that. I think that's going to be it for this particular sprue. These are the factory exhaust manifolds and of course factory mufflers, which I'm not using. So this is done. This sprue is finished. Put that down for throwing away later. Okay, we need a few more parts. We need our battery, we need our fan shroud, and a decal for the rad hose if we're going to do that. I have a feeling that I'm going to have to make a custom rad hose for this particular car. I might not, because it looks like we have different options for hoses. I just have a feeling that when they made this kit, they really did not have any intention, or maybe it wasn't even around. I don't think there was a Chevy 572 cubic inch big block at the time they made this kit, or even at the time when Foose was making this car and then they came out with the Foose version. This sprue is now done because the only thing on here are these little blocks that would be to raise up the back end of the car if you wanted to do that. But I'm not doing that. Oh, we got a license plate. I'm going to need that before I throw this away. There we go. So I'll put that down here. I don't need it right now, but this sprue is done. Unless I want to keep those blocks for some unknown reason, but yeah. Okay, so we got our battery. I've already painted the positive wire on this guy. You got that done. I might have to touch up this little spot from where I took it off the sprue. I don't know if this is going to be visible or not, but we'll find out. The battery, let's go here, let's look at this. This sits like this, and the battery sits like that, so it's going to sit on that particular guy right there like this. But I've got sprue nubs I need to clean. Battery's going to go in. I've got some flash on the battery here. There we go. Battery's going to go here like this. I'm going to use my extra thin and go in from inside of it. Do this. Hollow battery, that's funny. Looks like my nub on the battery is going to have to be cleaned. You can see that. Okay, there's our battery in. Let's find our fan shroud. Maybe the battery won't even be seen when once I get the shroud on there. Let's get the shroud out of the box here. There's our fan shroud. Okay. Got one more piece on here. I'm not sure what that piece is for, but I'm sure I'll find out eventually. This is the drawback to painting everything on the sprue, because now I've cleaned it off and now it's a I've got the spot there. But that's okay, that's what touch up is all about. So this is going to go with this thing sticking out, going to go right through the top there. And looks like we've got guide holes for it to go in, just like that. Didn't quite line up. We've got guide pins that don't want to work. We've got 2 pins, one at each corner, one here and one here, okay? And that's supposed to go here and here. They don't really line up. I get one in and the other really is off, so I'm gonna kind of force it. There we go. Stretch it just a hair, and that's in. Okay, a little bit of glue. Obviously, I'm going to have to touch this up anyway, so I'll put lots of glue on and make sure she's going to stay forever. Just like that. Okay, so our fran shroud is on. That's it. So we have 2 spots for rad hoses, one here and one here, and depending on which version you have done, if you've done the Foose version or the race version, that's going to depend on which particular hose you use, right? Because, for example, here's the Foose version. Rad hose goes right in the middle of the intake manifold here, right? And so that would be this one, this hose, number 26, okay? Which would be this hose here. This hose, whoops, this hose goes just like this, it goes like that, in there like this, and goes to the middle of the intake manifold, like that. If you're doing the race version, you're going to use this hose, which goes off to the side very differently. It actually looks like it'd be the same thing. But if you're doing that, you're going to be having a blower on there. And I've chopped this up so it's not the same intake anymore on there. This wouldn't be the same. So that would go on here, and it's just a little thicker, it's a little bit different. So I'm not sure why they decided to go different hoses. But if you look at my engine, there is no port on the top of the intake manifold. There is no port on the top. It actually goes through the water pump. It's totally different. I have no port. I have no port for an upper rad hose on my engine at all. Let's see how glued that is. Oh, it feels pretty solid now. I think I could get away with doing this. Yep, we're glued in. Okay. I still want to let that cure for a few minutes. As my glue, my CA glue, this stuff here is getting pretty old, and it's taking, instead of the instant cure, it takes a few minutes now. So, yeah. Anyway, so I have no provision for a rad hose on the engine. I have provision for the lower hose, right down there. Okay. I guess, let me see if I can get this at an angle where you can really see it. Like this. We have the lower rad hose can go into the water pump there, right in that spot, okay, where I'm pointing with the knife, right there. And there's a hose on the top of the water pump, that's for a heater hose, I believe, the heater hose that would go back to the firewall. But I have no provision for an upper rad hose. There is that little hose right there that goes from the intake down to the water pump, but that is literally it. There's no provision for a hose anywhere else. So I don't think I'm going to be using any of these 3 hoses. The bottom one might work. It might actually go up into that water pump. If I look at how this goes, this is supposed to go here like this. If I can get that in the hole. Flashing on the hole here. I don't think it's going to want to go into its home with the flashing on there. Here we go. This goes like that and would go up like this in that particular direction. I know it's hard to tell because it's all in black, right? You can see that's kind of how it's supposed to go, like that, right? So I'll do a little test fit to see if that will actually go up in there. It's possible. I might be able to convince it to go in there. I might actually have better luck if I try and put it in the water pump first. This is where somebody like A4 Garage, I don't know if you guys know about A4 Garage and his website, his thing. He is literally a master at building cars. His talent absolutely blows me away. He is a professional, absolute professional. I'll put a link up to his site. You guys can check him out. He fabricates everything himself and makes a little 1/24 scale engine look like a real engine that's been scaled down. It's just absolutely insane, the skill that this guy has. So our hose is not really gonna work here because as soon as I try and get it into the water pump, it starts hitting the frame. It's hitting the frame back here. As I just need a tighter bend on it, really, to get it to go into the water pump. It's just, yeah. I mean, it's close. I'll give it that. It's close, but I either need to put a tighter bend on it or cut it, scrape it off, make it a little smaller on the side or something like that, which is possible to do to get it to actually work. This again is one of those little custom things, those little things that you run into when you're doing all this custom stuff. Which is why over the years, when I was younger, none of my model cars had lower rad hoses because they just didn't fit. Especially if I was trying to actually get it in there. Okay, so that's basically how it's going to have to sit. But will that actually work is the question. I have the angle. I know the angle. I'm going to put some glue on this just so it'll stay in there. One thing about this glue is it doesn't really, when you move it around a whole lot, it stops working. But you can get it started and get it to where you kind of need it, and then you can move it a bit, and that's kind of what I need right there. So let's see if this will go in. See what I mean? Like, you can move it a little bit. But like I said, I have a feeling I'm not actually going to be getting it in there. The other thing I might wind up having to deal with is the fact maybe our fan belt's going to hit the shroud. I believe it's definitely going to hit the shroud. So that's another problem. That's something I got to deal with before I even touch the belt. This thing is supposed to go into this little slot right in here. See that little tab? I don't know if you guys can see that tab. There's a little tab right here and right here. If I get the right light, you might be able to see it. If I can get it, it's hard to see. Get in the right light, maybe shadow right here. Okay, right there's a little tab there and a little tab here. And you're supposed to slot that thing in between here. In between. Right through there. And through here. Okay. And when I try to get it in there, well, first of all, it doesn't want to go in. Second of all, our fan belt's in the way. So I'm going to mark this. Let me get a marker. Right here and right here. Let's start by trimming that out. Okay, so let's start with that. There's a notch there and right there. Okay, so that's where we got to start. That's our starting point for carving that out. Okay, basically got to take that much off. So I'll scribe this, that. Go, and we'll start like that. You guys notice I'm not taking a whole big chunk off right away. I'm just going slivers. By doing slivers, you have a lot more control over how much you take off. You don't have to put nearly as much pressure on the knife or on the part to just take a sliver off either. And that's the whole point. Okay, so let's just do a little test fit. Let's see. I've got it notched pretty good. Whether it's enough or not, I don't know yet. I'm going to say no, not yet. And we're not quite lined up with the bottom of the fan either. The fan is interfering with the bottom of this also. So the fan, the whole fan, well, not the whole fan. Also discovering the fan's not centered. Of course, if you're not putting a custom engine in it, you're not going to run into this problem like I am. Is hitting right in here and right here. Right here and I can't actually get at the spot, so this has to be notched like this. So I gotta cut that out too. Okay. Shut up. Yeah, I know. It's time. Okay. That's a timer for my laundry. So, we know that's ready. My laundry's ready. Now, if I can, I want to take as little as I have to off. And then also get this as straight as I can so it doesn't look super cheap and awful. I want to get this a little straighter. I think I'm at a point where this is almost ready. This might be enough, but I have it crooked right now, so I want to straighten that out. I can straighten it out with a file. Let's see here. Looks like I've got the fan thing sorted, or I'm really close to it anyway. And yeah, fan I'll have to go a little more down here. The one bottom blade doesn't want to go in, but that's okay. We'll shave off another millimeter or so. See how that looks. Yeah, that did the trick. We're in at the bottom now. So now it's just the top. We've got to make sure we're lined up everywhere in order to get that firewall in. Let's see, what am I hitting? So I'm not hitting this. I'm still hitting the fan blade. One of my blades is hitting somewhere. Down at the bottom. Right there. Carve out the inside here. Let's thin the wall. You know, our fan shroud is probably 4 times thicker than what would be in real life, so why not thin that out a little bit, eh? Also, thinning it out is going to make it easier to carve too, because now you're not carving 1.5 millimeter thick piece of plastic. You're just carving a fraction of that. So let's see. Now with that shaved down, this is very thin now, so let's try that. Let's give that a shot. You know what's funny is we're in spot. We're almost in the spot. It's in where it needs to go. And I'm not hitting the fan belt. I didn't have to cut the shroud at all. That's ironic. I didn't have to cut the shroud at all. It was only hitting the fan. The shroud was hitting the fan at the bottom, and that's what I needed to cut, and it wasn't anything else I needed to cut. It was just the bottom of the shroud, not the top. That is unfortunate. But that's okay. It's not the end of the world. What I will do is fix that up. I'll make it look a little nicer so it's not a big ugly looking notch. I'll just make it look a little bit more factory. What I'll do is I'll cut it at an angle out like this, kind of like this. Just so it looks a little better. So it's not like a 90-degree bend. And it just looks a little more natural. And I'll thin that out too. Okay, that looks a little better. It doesn't look quite so crazy. And now that's in. The battery is touching the fender well. And there we go. Kind of wants to pop out of its little spot, but that's okay. Once it's glued in, it's going to stay there forever. And that's that. So, what's the deal with our rad hose? What would happen with that? Well, now that this is in, I can deal with the rad hose. Now that I can see that exactly where it goes, we can get back to our testing of the hose. Put that in something like that and see how or if this will actually work. See, our hose is actually just a little too long to fit. I can trim it. Get it to a point where it's lined up. Close enough that it's almost there. Almost there. But that's good enough. It shows there's a hose there. There we go. So that's where it's going to be. I'm going to put some glue here. Glue along there and there. And that's going to be its new home. Kind of where the battery's touching underneath here too. And on this wall. And that's its new home. And I'll hold on to this and let that glue cure for a little bit. And that's where we're going to be done for today. I got the one thing accomplished that I wanted. And that thing that I wanted to get accomplished was to get the engine in the chassis. And I got that done. Let's get rid of my shavings here. it is a little unfortunate that I wound up shaving off more than I needed, especially on the top, but it's not the end of the world, right? Not a big deal. It's still going to look decent. Yeah. So obviously I need to touch up the paint where I did all that shaving, but yeah. So what's going to be next time? Now with this done, the next thing would be to deal with the body, and we'll get some of the body stuff done next time. Alright guys, so with that, I want to thank you guys for watching. I want to thank you especially for the new subscribers I got this week. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. I'll say again, once we get to 1,000 subscribers, I'm going to be doing a collaboration with my fiance, and we're going to build them all together. And I want you guys to see that, and I'm excited to show you guys. And so, the more than 70% of you guys that watch my videos that don't subscribe, just do it. Just do it. Hit that subscribe button. It doesn't hurt you. It doesn't hurt you, but yet it helps me, and that's really awesome. So, yeah. Just do that, guys. Anyway, thank you. Check out the description box below and you'll see links to my other stuff, and you can check that out too if you feel like it. And other than that, we'll see you all in the next one.